curriculum development is kind of a program that we need to develop and curriculums, and then usually it's for the kind of private sectors or organization or schools, and then when you apply to these schools, maybe your major is already set, and then maybe this is Christian education, and so they have they design the program, and there is a kind of educational and what's the philosophy is there, right? School philosophy there, is philosophy is there, and educational purpose is there, and then they design the program, and for this one we provide this class, and there's a lot of process from the beginning to the end. How can we make a class effective, and then how can we, what kind of pro education does school provide in this curriculum like this, and then it's a lot of work. It's not a one day, 2 day work. Maybe usually when I develop program and when I make a program, and then I'll look at a lot of problems are existing now, and then see how they doing. I can see why they developing this program and like this, and then we can get a lot of insight. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked to one of the professor in school, and then they got approved a PhD program, and then they need to develop their kind of programs, curriculums, and she said, and she looked at a lot of different schools programs, and then which one is good and which one is the best to fit into their program, and then try to kind of get some idea from those schools, curriculums, and then build up to their curriculums. Like this, maybe this is one of the easiest way that we can develop a program, but curriculum, but still we gotta think about what is the purpose of education, what is the philosophy of education, and what is how can we the object of education, and then we can develop the curriculum based on that one. So I'm gonna teach the curriculum development this semester, and my name is Christian Wee. So from Korea, it's about 26 years old ago, and I had 2 daughters, and one is in graduate school, another one is just finished the master's, and then she is applying for another professional schools, and then in the meantime, she wants to get a job, and then she applied for a job, and then she is the final kind of stage of interview. So she has had 4 round interviews. So she is in the last round of interview tomorrow, and my wife is still working, and I finished my PhD last year. It has taken long time to finish, because I worked and then tried to finish my dissertation, but it didn't work out. So it hadn't work out, and finally I decided to stop my work and to finish my dissertation, and it worked. So almost something's happened, and almost took 2 years to finish, and then finally I graduated last winter. So after that, and I'm taking rest and think about continue to research about second generations of immigrant, and then third generation, second generation immigrant, and then trying to think about writing a book about family based on the culture. So my study was intercultural studies, and I studied about so second generation millennials Korean American Christians about they were educated about cross cultural missions. They had a lot of opportunity to go out on missions, and churches support a lot, and they friends and family supported a lot, and they had opportunity, but we don't know how what they learned from the mission trips, and how they apply their lesson to their current life. So that was my research, and then nowadays I try to go to the other ethnic churches, and then I went to the Indonesian churches. I went to Vietnamese church. I tried to make a connection, and I want to learn how they are doing. So especially for missions, and then it's not easy to go to mission trips because it's a lot of monies and a lot of times, and but still, like Korean immigrant churches, they are really generously support mission trips, but other churches are still struggling with sending out the mission teams. But still, so far I have learned about the immigrant churches, and then even though they will send out the mission trip to overseas countries, but still they try to reach out their own community to their own ethnic people. So it's really challenging. So I never thought about the immigrant churches around that area in North America, especially in Los Angeles area, California. But I look up the Google. I googled so like Indonesian churches and Vietnamese churches and Mexican, Hispanic, Latino churches, and then it popped a lot. It popped a lot. Really, needless to say, to Korean church, right? And it's a North America, like 4,000 Korean churches. I don't know whether more or less because of the pandemics, right? Anyway, and that's my I started I came over here around the 30s, early 30s, late 20s, and then I went back to school and studied psychology, and because at the time I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, help people who are struggling with mental stress and then life issues. But that's why I studied psychology. I went back to college and finished psychology major, and then while I am applying for graduate school, and I I have another turning point from that, and then nowadays when I look back, I should have gone to the graduate school that I got accepted for PhD program, but I didn't. But it just took a long time, and went around, and finally, I had an opportunity to study for intercultural studies at Biola University. So finally, I went through everything. So that's my background, and maybe what I'm doing now. Recently, I've been engaged with missions, cross-cultural missions, especially. I take the family to the mission field, like 2-3 days, or sometimes 1 day, sometimes 2 weeks trip to mission, church mission. It's been more than 10 years, and then last year, because of pandemic, and we stopped for a while, and then recently I reorganized a team to take it to the Mexico. Yeah, usually I went to Mexico, Tijuana, Mexico, and Guadalajara and Michoacan in Mexico. Every month I went down to Tijuana, and every summer I went to Guadalajara and Michoacan. So like Tenguecho in Mexico. That's a totally different part of the Mexico. Yeah. So, but yeah, pandemic is almost done. Yeah, like so. It's time to reorganize the team, and then go down and help the local churches. So we usually go to 3 family to 5 families, and then sometimes the family involves a lot with the children's ministry. So this time too. This time is a little bit more multi-ethnic groups. I never seen the people, but still who wants to go down with me, and then I can see the people's name is like really diverse. There's a lot. You can see the last name. Last name is like we people like Chinese, city Chinese, but we Kim and Rees and then other ethnic last names. So I'm really excited, and then. I'm gonna go down maybe in 2 weeks to Mexico. So I'm gonna talk to local church pastor in Mexico, and then talking about what they need, and then how can we help the church to kind of grow, and then they can give the influence to the other churches in Mexico. So after talking to Mexico, I'm gonna see the whole picture of the how long take, how we're gonna do. So even though I take the short-term mission to Guadalajara, it's like 7 years, and I have a master plan in my mind, and then every year, so my mind is, my goal was to, how can we help the local church be independent in for the children's ministry. So every year I make a short mission trip about 10 days trip, and then every year, so we design a program, develop a program, and then we invite the local student, junior high school and high school student little by little, and then we give them job, we share the ministry little by little, and give them more and more. At the end of the 7th year, so I just give them kind of a guideline, and I give them timeline, or you guys prepare this one and prepare this one. They did a really good job, and then they prepared everything by themselves, and they did. And they did as we had it done, right? And that was kind of a 7-year project for me. So it was really challenging, but it was really kind of through the process, a lot of local children's leadership or developed, and then they kind of step up, and then try to help their churches, right? That was what my recent kind of it's not a curriculum, but still training related to my ministry, and then there is kind of a curriculum step or training. People will go to mission trip, and there's about 12 to 15 weeks meeting training sections, almost 3 to 4 months training. Every Saturday we met around sometimes around 3 hours. We spend 3 hours to learn about families and missions, and then preparing for missions. So there is specific content is there, and then we talk about, we learn, we talk about, and we prepare for activities. That one is related to the kind of curriculum development, but still it's not a big thing, it's a small thing in my ministry. So I hope that you guys had kind of experience, and then maybe if your experience helped a lot, and then maybe you could expand little by little, and then understand how can we develop the whole pictures, not like small for educational program for small private sectors organization, but still like a school scale, like a bit. So this course explore the process of how education will be better by improving curriculums. Maybe school think about the society changing and cultures changing, keep changing and changing. So we can kind of adjust to the flow of the culture and time, right? So like I heard that UC Irvine had a major in playing game. So my generation even don't think about what is major in playing games. Yeah, like that. I mean, developing playing games is nothing. Nowadays, I heard that Korea have kind of major in YouTube management, something like that. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a really realistic and practical major because nowadays it's really boom. And that is part of try to provide what they need in reality, right? The hands-on education. That's why sometimes we set the education in this one, but sometimes it's society changing and culture is changing. New things are coming up, and then we need to kind of adjust the curriculums, right? That is kind of it's more easier than the from the scratch, developing from the scratch, right? So the course process how education will be better by improving curriculums, because from the scratch, and then we can see develop the whole curriculum and then evaluate and go and kind of fix and evaluate fix, right? Like that. So even though if you go to college and elementary school and junior high school, maybe high school, there's a little bit different from, right? Different from the college, but still they try to do different things, right? My little one, younger one, she was in high school and they started kind of core programs, a little bit changed the program, but they never had kind of a program. So it was like a pilot program, and they kind of experimented with my daughter's grade, and it was not successful though, but they didn't do it anymore. That was kind of a program is like that, and it was math class, and they don't push the student to do homework, and always give them kind of responsibility to student. Okay, you gotta do by yourself, study by yourself like this. But sometimes, and maybe for mature student it works, but it's not. Just think about when you're high school, what do you wanna do? Study whole days by yourself, or why it's so interesting? Maybe some of them is really interesting in study whole day, but most of the kids, and they don't want to study. They don't want to sit on the desk all the day, whole day. They want to go outside and play with the friends, and they want to chill out at the theaters, and they want to go to the beaches and write. But it wasn't successful, and school canceled the program. Anyway, so. Curriculum development is crucial with providing quality of education. Depends on what school teaches, and then school is known for that program, right? Curriculum, program. So it should really show the quality of education. And if school doesn't provide enough education, enough material and resources through curriculums, and then we cannot say even though they major in something, and when they go out, they are not going to be successful, right? Because they don't learn, and they never exposed to kind of stuff, right? That's the difference. So providing really curriculum development is crucial for providing quality of education. So It's not simple, but it's really it takes multiple steps and ongoing process until even though you set the curriculum, but every year kind of evaluate the programs and what. Is we are doing good, or which one is to take out, which one is to put in, So like keep kind of a circular process to improve that job, right? And so think about, and they got evaluated on analysis and what they need more and how can we adopt the new trend and adopt new things, and then the design, how can we form, whole process is kind of it's not simple, and that's why it takes time. Each step is really crucial to have good develop good program curriculum development. And each step is really important to fulfill the purpose of education. Think about it. If you kind of ignore and kind of consider belittle, and then you don't put the weight on each step, and then there's a flow after that, right? So it's really important. So we're gonna go over which step we need, what kind of step we need, right? And so class provide essential content each step to be considered and included in curriculum development. So we need to understand what is a curriculum, and then how can we start from the scratch, right? And then how can we develop the sound, it's really good program, curriculum. So, and in development process, it's not easy. There's a lot of challenges, and we're gonna go over in this class. So basically, this class provide information about understanding a curriculum, and then how can we start, and with what, and then what process we need, what we need for that, right? And then we're gonna think about, and there's a kind of models out there, and then you can use the whether what is the best for the educational philosophy and purpose. That's our course description, and then basically this class provide how can we develop the curriculum from the scratch, from the scratch. Maybe if you are interested in some kindergarten business or any educational business, and then maybe even though it's not a big scale, like a personal or the small, maybe churchy and big organizations or schools, and then whatever, and then you can just follow and do, and then each step by step, and then maybe at the end of the class you can see how your kind of curriculum is developed with the classes, along with the classes, right? Course objectives and student outcomes, and the objectives, one of the objectives are to understand the basic component needed to develop curriculums. So what kind of what is that? What kind of component needed, right? So whole process of curriculum development. So we can see the one picture that from this one maybe 5 steps, 6 steps, and 7 steps, up to you. But still we can see the whole picture, big pictures, and then what process you need, right? That is page one of the goal to learn. And another one is to learn the different approach of curriculum development. It's not one way, so there is a lot of there is a similar way, but there is a clearly different way and different directions and different purpose, right? So it depends on what you are thinking about, what you need, right? And what you need and what you want to do. Basic direction and purpose. Yeah. So maybe different approach, and then able to choose one is kind of approach that is really suitable for your own things, right? Which one is good, and then we'll consider one. And so the last object of this one is about maybe student outcomes, and then be able to apply lessons to develop a curriculum to their own interests, right? If you are interested, and maybe just think about throwing a party. Okay, why? When you're throwing a party, and then maybe it's your family, family, right? So that's a family party. So why do you not throw a family party? Right? Why? That's why. Maybe and there's why, and then think about and then maybe how can we start? What you need, kind of content. Any fun activities? Maybe playing sports, maybe playing game with the whole family. How can we do the kind of games? Right? Clearly, this was there is the purpose of the why you are doing family parties, and then you're gonna, and then how can you do what you need, and then you're gonna make all list, and then what's the food, and how can we do, maybe if you are Christian families, and then how can we start, and how can you wrap up, right? A lot of families, and sometimes in like they have a short service, sometimes they have start with prayer, and then greeting each other, and eat, what food we need. Okay, maybe just to prepare what we like, or if you are considerate, and then okay, that family like this one, that family like this, and so maybe satisfy all family with all families, and then and then maybe prepare food that the family like, right, like this, and then a lot of different things towards the end, and then at the end of the day, and then party's done, and how you evaluate. Which part is really good, which one's really bad, like this. And what if you next time, if you throw another family party, and how can we do, right? There is required reading books, and then I chose print, the curriculum development and design, and then I look at a lot of books, and but this one is give you basic idea. Nowadays, just think about books and recently coming out, and based on that one, it's a lot of things to jump on, and already assume that you know, and then try to get a deeper level of them. But this one is gives really basic things, right? I know it's an old book, but still it's really see learn what is how to develop the program from the scratch, and then it's really helpful. So that's why I chose this book. So if you buy the Kindle and as PDF, it's cheaper than the actual books, but I want to buy this book, but it was really expensive. Even though Kindle books is like $30, and then wow, I don't want to pay for that one. So still waiting, and then once the price went down like almost 50%, so I bought it right away. So finally, that's why I put this book on our required reading. So it gives you really understanding about curriculum, and it's really step by step what you need, and then a lot of theories, and then practical. Practical is there, right? How they did, and then there's good examples. Recommended reading, and then rigorous curriculum design, and 2019 it came out. So how to create a curricular unit of study that aligns standard instruction and assessment. So that one is a pretty good book. And then another one is the understanding by design. And this one is that I learned from schools, and then that is really emphasized faculty design. So maybe we can see later. So there is a kind of recommended reading to the side, and then one is really old, but I try to add in the kind of recent book. It's like a rigorous curriculum design. So maybe you can see what it's like, and then you don't have to buy, but still maybe if you approach other library, or if you are really interested in combining, but still see that basic content and what is what kind of the content they are dealing with, right? Here is class about 10 weeks, and then we're gonna follow the required reading, the curriculum development one. So by print, and then today we're gonna think about what is the curriculum development, and next week's understanding curriculum and understanding curriculum development, and then we can see specific one. So I follow sometimes kind of logically, maybe kind of confused, but try to follow the book's order, right? So maybe sometimes I don't understand, but sometimes I understand his intention. So I was thinking about changing the kind of the order of the class, and then but still because I chose the book, and then based on the book, I'm gonna teach. So that's why I wanna keep the order that along with the textbook. So here is, and then understanding curriculum development, and then today, next week, understanding curriculum as a curriculum, and then curriculum design and situational analysis, and then why you need to, when you start, what you need, and then curriculum intent, what is the intent, so what is the content, and then what is the object, the learning object, and evaluation assessment, and then, and after that, this doesn't work, and maybe we need add something more, like you can curriculum application and changes like this, and then that's why it's a circular process. It's not just a one-time process. Okay. Okay. Let's jump into understanding of curriculum development, and then this one is kind of it's very introductory, and then it's not in depth, but still. In the beginning of class, I want to give you kind of a glimpse of the whole class, and then that's why I did. What is the definition of the curriculum development? Maybe simple, like developing a curriculum at school like this. Maybe that's right. A lot of people say that, but curriculum development is like one of your website, educational website suggests that the process by which institutions, maybe instructor, teachers, educator, and schools, like sectors, create and adopt that plan for course, right? And if you study college, what's your majors? I studied philosophy, and I studied psychology, and I studied theologies. I studied intercultural studies, and anthropology, cultural anthropology, and my school is really focused on religion. put together, like intercultural studies, and then that. Just think about a totally different areas. Right? Philosophy is I start off with ancient philosophy in Korea. So survey, and then after that it was Western philosophy, introduction of Western philosophy, and logics, and go a little bit deeper, and then we study about ethics, Nicodemus, Aristotle and ethics of Nicodemus, right? And like that, and then specifically we learn about and a lot of different branches of philosophy, and then sometimes focus on the person really prominent who are kind of established in the branch of the philosophy. Like that, depends on the but there is a whole curriculum is there, right? That's the curriculum development is already completed one, like a temporary or permanently. I guess there is no permanent curriculum. Maybe if you set up and then develop a program, that's it. If you don't want to change, if you don't want to adopt, and then that's it. Maybe that's just curriculum that developed. But curriculum development is a process, right? The process by creating, adopt the plan for the course. Whole course you can develop, right? And so that's another So another one is the curriculum development is we already talked about take the multiple steps, not the single steps, and another one is kind of improving the courses, right? And taught at a university or schools, and so. The process, it's not fixed. The process is not fixed, right? Depends on the schools and depends on the institution. Depends on how much they already done, or depends on their kind of a different kind of stage of development. So basically, depends on the schools and institution, the process is really different. So I think I attached one of the program development, curriculum development for youth ministry, and then you could see the one, and maybe you can see you applied a lot of basic stuff from curriculum, principle from the curriculum development, and then they created their own things. It's really pretty smart. They put their own things. Good. So I think I attached this note, right? And so there is so analysis and building and implementation, and then evaluation, and then how can we improve this curriculum like this, and from the scratch to change, right? Before we start the curriculum development, and just think about some questions. Why curriculum development is useful for educator? Why? I'm an educator, but why curriculum development is really important? Just think about, sometimes people are not interested in the kind of education, maybe what class they provided, and then who is teaching. A lot of people, maybe they just like school names, and maybe they like public school because of the tuition is cheaper, like this. But basically, it's really good for the educator because they can see the big picture of the whole course program, right? if you study what is a Christian education, and then what is a Christian education, and how can how can provide classes to understand the Christian education, and then use these principles and knowledge in their practical setting. Maybe church educations and maybe Christian school educations, right? And Christian schools, like this. And then if educator knows the whole picture of first year, second year, third year, and you can see all things and what is we gotta teach, and then who can see the big picture? Oh, what is my role for this class? And see the whole pictures, and then okay, I need to teach this class what is about this one, and how can we connect, and how can we handle this class, connect to the next class and people class like this, right? Even though it's a topic, different subject, but still, it's really helpful. And why is the concrete curriculum development strategies valuable for learners? Why? Because it allows teachers to take a thoughtful and methodical approach to determine what students will be required to learn. So curriculums depend on what organization, what schools, maybe. There is California there is two kind of university. One is it's a UC, University of LA, Berkeley, like this, and one is a California State University, right? Two different kind of education is going on, and then but the California State University, I heard really focus on the practical aspect, but University of the California University, and then also UC is really focused on a little bit academics, different. Right, it's a different. But after this school and they can get a job, it's a similar, many people go to job place and from the Cal State and from the UC, it doesn't matter, but approach is different, right? But if they study in Cal State, but they can go to law school, the medical schools, and they can go higher conceptual educations, professions, but they are a little bit different, depths and level of education. It's not limited, but still, it's really think about what kind of curriculum we have, what is the purpose of education, and then we gotta know how the teachers teach the student and help the student, right? That's the really important thing. That's why the concrete what's the curriculum development strategy need, not the if you go to school, it's already organized and they really provide the program concretely. It's specific, very specific. There is a class and what is a full class and what we're going to learn from this class. It's very specific. But if you go to school, it's not really organized, and then they don't have kind of material, right? So there is kind of a 6-year component of effective teachings, and then what is effective teachings? There is concrete curriculum development strategy valuable for learners. What about, and then because it helps the teachers to how to teach, right? And but grade is kind of a little bit side, but still as a teachers and maybe who educators need to know effective teachings about demonstrate the knowledge of content. And when we developed the curriculum, and then we gotta think, and then how can we, what kind of knowledge is there, and what kind of the demonstrate the knowledge of a student. Content knowledge is there, and how student is learning the knowledge, right? And then select the suitable instructional strategy goals, and what is depends on the student's level. Maybe you design a program like this at a really high level, but someone is coming to your class, and then they're not ready for it's really below, and then how can you challenge it come to this level? Maybe if you can, and what's the first step to come to this level, and then maybe first level, and they can go this one and that one. That's why when you go to college and first year, second year, third year, fourth year, level of class is different, right? To demonstrate the knowledge of the resources. Okay, it's not that one. What is the empirical studies, and what is the books, and who developed, and what is the history of the knowledge of the things, right? Resources they need to know. And what about the coherent instruction? To design a coherent instruction, and then if just like teachers jump around here and there, and then students don't know what they learn, right? But still, just the object is here, the class goal is here, and then you got to kind of consistent with what you try to teach by step. That's effective teaching. What about the assess the student learning? Okay, how much do you understand my lectures? How much understand the materials? And you got to evaluate, right? That is basically a component of effective teaching. And then think about when you're teaching with this kind of expecting with this component, and then how can you develop the curriculum to provide properly, right? Now that's why I give you kind of a basic idea about effective teaching. It's kind of related to the curriculums, right? There are kind of two different process models, right? Two different curriculum process and models. There is a process, two processes. One is a productive model, productive model. One other one is a process model. Guess what? What is the product model? It's like objectives model. And this model is really focused on the outcomes and evaluation and result. Okay, you design that one, and then okay, when they finish this class, and then they supposed to hold what's your educational goal, and then this level, and you're going to evaluate. They are whether can meet the standard or not. Right? Really focus on the evaluation and outcomes and result. Maybe typically school education mostly not to go to special schools, and then so usually the product models determines what learning has occurred, right? What learning, so what kind of outcome they had, and that's it, based on that one, and evaluate. Maybe if you want to develop kind of curriculum that this one is like really standardized, kind of test score, is kind of gives you a result. Okay, based on the test, and student achieve this level, right? I will consider when someone achieve the C level, B level, A level, and different, but what is the basic standard that set when designing the curriculums, right? So usually like the school model, like our public schools, yeah, like this is a product models, right? Usually they set the kind of curriculum and then there is evaluation and there is test is there and consider them and then what? And maybe quizzes and what else? And then midterm and finals and tests, and then you can know how much they achieve, right? Meet the standard. But this one is it's not flexible, already set. So the curriculum is already set. Some people kind of really different from others, and then if they have a different approach, maybe as students are really successful in education, but everybody is different. But some like a learning style. Someone learn from the hearing and reading. Someone learn from this kind of watching, as a visual demonstration and see and learn. Yeah, it's a different, right? And so it's really, again, read, it's hard to kind of make it flexible. So yeah, it's hard to adapt the student unique needs to teach, right? So, but these product models provides what? Quantitative learning assessment. Okay, you can assess A also like over 70, 90%, A minus 90 to 89 to 92%. A plus is over A is over 93% like this, and then you can make a number. You can make two numbers and then kind of evaluate how much they achieve, right? That is a product model, like school education, public school education, but the process model is like it's a little bit different, like special schools, like we are thinking about, and this model is focused on how learning develop over time. It should really emphasize or focus on how students are learning, not the standardized. It should really focus on the student's unique needs, and what thought they have throughout the process. Really focus on that one. And this approach is kind of a more open-end. Start with something else, but each one end is open. Depends on the kind of a design to a curriculum for students. Nowadays, if you go to kind of European countries, and then long time ago I saw the kind of special schools is already education at different level. It's really special. It's not a public school. So you should really consider the overall growth and development of a student rather than the performance on an exam, right? So how much they grow and kind of they learn the actual knowledge and then they can use it. So it's a big thing. So what is the maybe product model is for the schools. Just think about the public school and the private school. Private school is like more towards the process model, but not all about it. Not all about it, but kind of it's close to process model, and public school is kind of product model, like public high school and college, right? And just think about if you go to your private college, and their program is very flexible. My daughters went to the private college, and they major in something, and some of them is about 3 kind of minors and on their studies, 1 major and 3 minors, and sometimes there is no specific major, but the student kind of made up and council help and made up and studies and then like that. So really we are more flexible in private college, right? But depends on the school. Some schools are really rigorous. And then if you take, that's why. If you go to public university and then one class like a science class is like take 1 year. But if you go to private school and then the private school wants to give you more chance to explore the other things, right? And then they finish the kind of one semester, 1 quarter, and then they have another opportunities like that. It's really rigorous stuff. That's close to the process model, right? There is a basic model is here, okay? Just think about when you think about developing a curriculum, what kind of process, what kind of models maybe if you like churches, maybe more think about the process model. If you have a non-profit organization, it's a non-profit organization, maybe process maybe and non-profit organization is like you gotta standardize everything mostly to show and present, right? But private organization is kind of they have their own philosophy and pursue the different things. So a little bit different, Each way to understand, What about designs, and then we're gonna learn more specifically, and then how can we design the class? Subject-centered class, curriculum. Subject-centered, like usually emphasize specific skill and knowledge associated with subject area. Right? If you go to college, and then you could see a lot of different classes, right? And then like that. So this is a really most common approach used throughout the secondary and primary and secondary education in the U.S. And then so we can also found throughout the college classroom, like level of the class, right? The subject centers. What about the problem centers? If you go to special schools and maybe specific professional schools, and then they teach you really focus on this one. So this approach is kind of designing problem centers that provide the student with relevant real-world skills. Maybe nowadays, if you go to like vocational schools, right? And I already, vocational schools, like just think about they really teach specific things, right? And if you wanna be like network, kind of networking, and then they have specific how you can know the computers, how can you know the network, how connected, and then what is a problem, how can you solve a problem like this. That's one of the problem-centered schools. And then nowadays, if you go to medical schools, the trend is like really problem-solving centered class, and then they don't, traditionally they teach everything one by one, and then they go after 2 years and they go to rotation hospital, and then under Dr. Supervisor and they learn, and then they see the problem and try to understand what it's about. And then, but nowadays in a lot of schools, like get a specific one case and they talk about and discuss and learn about that one. And like this, how can you solve the problem like this? So this one is really benefit for critical thinking and focus on the collaboration and more innovation in the classroom, right? Maybe each student can contribute to some aspect of knowledge, right? Real settings, in real setting the experience. Yeah, so student will learn key skills and knowledge, but not sometimes with additional context, right? So that's really problem centered. And what about learner centered? Think about what's the need of the learners, what is the goal of each learners as individuals. And always think about not just a subject, and then, but it's really hard, right? Because learners are different, though. Different cultural background and different socioeconomic background, right? I know. So when you go to college and they consider it, but still, everybody has different goals and different needs, but the learner-centered really maybe emphasize that one. So maybe it's not a big public school like every year, so 10,000 students, recruited 10,000 students, registered 10,000 students, and then just think about UCs and how many students in UCLA, only UCLA. I mean, 30, 40,000 students. That maybe it's hard for you, it's hard to do learn this program, but if they have a little bit extension program about provide vocational skills, and then that is a different goal, right? Nowadays, schools provide education related to specific jobs, and then they said extension program, but it's not a basic education. So that is really helpful to consider the learners, but just think about their need are really considered and helped to kind of guide the whole the curriculum development process. Just think about special education, which are really learner-centered, special education, who are really a little bit intelligence is a little bit lower than the normal people, and then how can you develop teach them, right? They have a special need. You can teach them like 70, 60, 40, 30 students in the classroom, and then just lectures. There's a basic design. How can you do the here is Ralph Tyler. So people you jump into curriculum development, and he said that there is fundamental questions. Maybe we're gonna go over later, and then he said that before you start, you gotta think about this question: the education purpose. Should the school seek to obtain? What is the education purpose? Just think about what is the philosophy of education, and then set the purpose and direction. Philosophy is a little bit wider, and purpose and direction And what about the object, the specific way there? There's a philosophy here, and a purpose is here, and object is here. And the object, the specific object is here, and then achieve the goal, and what is the aim, and then what is the philosophies, like the different state, right? Yeah, if you see the whole thing is more specific, yeah. From philosophy to the objectives. Always think about what is the purpose of education, and what about the experience of education, and maybe what experience can be provided that more likely to attain this purpose. Mean that okay, it's not just a classroom or teaching. They need to learn something. Maybe they need to do something outside of class, right? How can this education experience be effectively organized? Okay, how? Which one comes first, or which one is middle, which one is the last? What kind of activities need? That is. How can we determine whether this purpose will be attained or not? How can we evaluate it? Just he suggested, okay, maybe we can do more, but still he suggested, okay, before you develop the curriculum, at least think about this one. What? Why? What is the purpose of education? And then what kind of experience, classroom, inside, outside, what kind of things they wanna expose to them, and then how all these things kind of classroom experience, outside classroom experience kind of organized, and then how can determine that where they achieve, how we could know that they achieve or not. But here is steps of the curriculum development. Maybe there is kind of 5-6 steps to develop the curriculum, and then that one is previous one, Tyler's one, and then we can see what is the purpose of one step and another step, and this organized mean the establish and organize it. We can put together maybe 3-4 steps here, but here is more kind of detailed steps, multiple steps that how can we develop the curriculum development, curriculums, right? First of all, analyze what is the need analysis, and then what kind of work we need. We gotta analyze what is the people's need. So this instructional design team reviews was the learning object and topics covered and current learning resources used and assessment strategy and need of your student populations. Like this. This one is kind of you're gonna analyze and then think about and what is the goal of education. Relate to the class. So if there is already a developed class, if there is already developed curriculums, you're gonna do again. But if you want to do curriculum, is still you're gonna think about all factors. What is the purpose of education? Why? Who's gonna be our student? What they need to learn. That's analyzing. First step. What about after that and then what? Oh, we need this one, we need this one, we need this, and then sometimes it's not practical, but sometimes it's already people done, right? People already done, and then there is a lot of resources out there. So we gotta research. empirical research and read the book more. Sometimes you gotta listen to the teachers, you gotta listen to students like this. Sometimes you gotta see the other curriculums. There's similar purpose of education. Hey. That's your research though. Right? So identify available learning resources and cover the topics and learning objects, and identify the possible area for all course improvement based on the need and the needs of the student. Just think about even though the curriculum is really nice, but it's not aligned with the student needs, and then we cannot say it's really helpful for students, right? And research. And then think about process. And then think about design. How we develop, we already talked about the subject-centered, problem-centered, learner-centered, right? And what is the product model, progress models? Which one you're gonna sort of think about? And how can we lay out the whole class? How can we make the flow of the class, content like this? And that's a design, right? And what about the curate? And we have idea about what class and what flow, and then curate and organize all things. So, and just think about there's a lot of different resources, and then we can organize it, and which one is quality resources, and then how much we relate to ours, and then also qualities and peer-reviewed open resources content, and so there is a lot of resources out there. So we gotta put together. We can use the resource as it is with the permission, and sometimes customize or give a citation, and sometimes edit the things, so resources, and a lot of different areas though we can use, right? So curate, organize the all things, and then build. Okay, you gotta choose. We need our need, and research, and then curate, organize, and then actually you gotta build. Okay, hold the flow, and the first class, second class, and third class, and nowadays it's I don't know. Depends on some classes. If you wanna take a math class, and then they can jump to the other class, higher level. Always there's a prerequisite is there. Require class. Before you take this class, you gotta know this one, you gotta take this one like this. If you wanna go to English class for the second language like me, and then if you go to college and there's a ESL, and then after ESL depends on your English skills, and then they have another pre-classes, and then you can take a college English class, right? Almost 2 years, take 2 years. But if they graduate high school here, and they have a kind of basic testing, placement test, and then usually if there will be a big problem, and then they can take a college English class 1, 2 like this. And just show the build a specific way that you can do flow the class and actually build, and then how can we work with others, right? And put everything. So we can see the whole process of your curriculums. And then if you done in the work, you're gonna launch. Okay, let them see a whole class how it goes, the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, how they go, and then just launch, right? Even though it's really nice, curriculum, but if you don't launch a class with a student, and then you don't know it's really helpful or not. So maybe it's not a good program though, right? So that one is that. After that, something's wrong. I think one is missing. There is a kind of evaluation though. Evaluation. Okay, launch and actually student take the class, actually teachers teach a class, and what's the outcome? How much the average student could achieve in this curriculum, achieve the goal in that curriculum, right? You gotta evaluate. What about the teachers' issue? Sometimes teachers, and even though the curriculum is really nice, but teacher is not qualified for this one, and then how can you help the teachers? Maybe, and they could train the teacher more and more opportunity to learn about the topic like this, right? And then adjust and change process. This is a kind of a basic idea about how can we develop a curriculum. So I gave you a little bit a big picture of your class, and then there is not specific things, but I shared about basic kind of a process of how we develop the curriculum, right? How we develop a curriculum. So maybe it's really nice to see, and then I hope that you guys have a really good insight about curriculum development from your experience, right? Principle is simple. Sometimes we couldn't understand the logic, but still, when you start the program, curriculum development, and then you need to really objective, and you gotta see objectivity, right? Too ideal, if it is too ideal, and then maybe it's not a practical curriculum. But how can we challenge students to higher education and then provide what is this knowledge, and then in this knowledge and this knowledge and then skills, right? Through education. That is it's a hard balanced theory and practice, right? If you really emphasize on theory, and then just think about there's a theory, and then how can you put it out on the practical area, practicum? You gotta practice with this in real setting, and you can see whether it's true, not it's plausible or not. Sometimes logically it's plausible, but sometimes the real setting is different, and then it's not plausible, like this. So how can we provide a balanced but challenging, rigorous curriculum for students? Okay, so that is really important thing. So I hope that just think about what you have done in your life, and even the small things like parties, and then maybe kind of church activities, and any kind of activities you guys charge, and how you have done, and then you just did, and then how is the impact on it? What about, and then from the, you can kind of use the basic idea on small or big, and short-term and long-term kind of project or programs, right? And I hope that it's really understand and then see the what is see what is effective education based on the really good curriculum, right? That's why if you provide a balanced program curriculums, then school is really well known for the program. So maybe the school is really well known the program like this, and then my daughter, she went to the Columbia. She had masters in medical science and public health, and then her school program is pretty well known, right? It means that adults work a lot in different area and keep continued feedbacks, and then they kind of evaluate the program as a curriculum programs, and then they kind of try to equip the students well with knowledge and practical skills, right? Yeah, that's a little bit different. So I hope that, so if you are really interested in education, it is really helpful for how to educate people, right? All right, this is the first class, and then I hope that you guys can kind of understand the basic about process, and then next week we're gonna really focus on what's understanding the curriculum, and then we can jump on the specific one. So next week we're gonna see, we're gonna learn about what is the curriculum. All right, so I know this week and next week this weekend is kind of hardest, over 100 degrees, and then take care of yourself. Right, so my daughter says stopping by from Phoenix, and then diabetes, she says really hard and always over 90 and 100, but she said it's California is cooler than, I know it's cooler, but still it's really hot this weekend. It's a Labor Day weekend, and I hope that you guys will take care of yourself very well. Okay, have a great day.